Good to whip around Wednesday, Warriors. A lot of W's in that. How are you, Ingmar? Brand, a machete. I'll try a leaf blower. All right, buddy. Hi, Ryan, Glenn, Kman, Kurt. How are you? James, how you doing? Blake, Lucas. Welcome to Face, Lucas. Okay. Alexander's there too. Okay, so let's start with this. Pretty important support level here. So, I'll admit that I sure wasn't expecting this yesterday. I thought we'd have there'd be a layup, but it came in like 33 lower. I think a lot of people are trapped, but this is very important support at this 5,500 level. I think yesterday was pretty damaging. Um, I'm not going to fade it. I know that it's probably the right thing to do, but I'm not going to fade it. Here's SQQ, and if you look at this pullback, it was, basically it held 78.6 back, while the other ones like the Dow and the S&Ps almost made new lows, just like the NASDAQ. This didn't. Um, I don't know if I would short this. So the real bearish count is that, we're putting in an important high. And if you look at the daily, um, we would have a breakout over 10, it looks like here. Well, more like 11. So you could see the bull case is, we're putting in a higher low. We're going to attack the daily 200 and take it out and then make a move towards this. The bear case is we had this big decline and this is just a pop to fade before we go to new lows. Who has opinions on which one it is? Hi, Victor. You guys have an opinion? If not, I'm going to move on to the team. We'll get to some clueless. You know what? That's a legitimate answer because I certainly did not have high confidence in those SQQ calls. It is hard to say. It is, and I don't know. And you know what? Pros are saying the same thing. I talked to Jim yesterday, and he's anticipating a new high. I asked him if after yesterday that was it, and he thinks there's still a chance, but his conviction level is lower. So what looked like a layup in S&Ps is at least a three-pointer now. So we'll see if they turn it here. We'll see. But with all the statistics like Charlie Bello showing that U.S. households have never owned more equities, and I guess there was a Wall Street Journal article about that too, that the U.S. public has never been as long stocks as they are now. So put that thought in your head and then look at this, and everyone's very giddy about looking at their 401ks. I also saw someone commenting on that. So I guess the worst surprise to these people would be to learn that there is gravity, where we could have I think someone told me that gal on Bloomberg that used to interview Joe said that this could have been a double top last week. I'm going to ask the team in a minute, but let's just do a little currency stuff first.
Doolittle?
Huh? Yeah, that's her.
Abigail Doolittle?
That's her.
Is that
Yeah.
her? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a pretty good technician.
Oh yeah, she's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't sell the dollar, and 102 was one of the zones, but I didn't do it. Maybe that's it, but it keeps gnawing at me in the back of my mind that if we get a decent jobs number, that there'll be another leg in this for me to buy these things a little cheaper. Like Aussie, it's interesting. Aussie is up with S&P's down. But I still think we'll get to near this moving average. And, you know, this isn't doing anything great. I like this confluence, just a shade under the big round number 110 and that would be a 50% correction here from this whole move. You know, Gann says in bull markets by 50% corrections. That would be down here. So what are you thinking here today? We're at full strength with Ryan and Kay. Which of you guys want to open it up and have tell us what you said on the flow show?
Heads or tails?
All right, that's you.
Heads I win, tails you lose. How about that?
I've heard. Yeah, I've been on that side trading. So anyway, what are you thinking? Is this enough? This pullback, you think? Enough of a rally in the dollar, and that's it? Pretty weak rally, It didn't even get back to the breakdown. What
Yeah,
do you think?
I think the dollar is the least affected at the moment,
Yeah,
given this risk-off move, because yeah, obviously we're trading all this data that we got coming up and the Fed and everything. So euro dollar's really sitting on its hands, and so is the Dixie. The rest of it is all a bit of a risk move. They've got every bank cutting China growth forecasts, worried about China growth, global growth,
yeah,
commodities are dumping, and we're in that situation again, where are we going to be heading towards recessions or whatever? So it's a general risk off move, and for the S&P and stocks, it's always the same. Whenever you get a move out the blue, it's the end of the world.
yeah. You're right.
And if you look at the last end of the world, when we dropped a
In
good
August, yeah,
500, 600 pips, that couldn't
10%.
even get to the 38.2 of the Nov rally. So it couldn't
Okay,
even hit the first fib milestone in that dip. So it's all about context, I think. We've got a big level, as you said, 55s. The next big level is 54.5. That's a 38.2 of the August rally. You can't get sucked into the narrative and all the headliners and clickbaiters saying it's another end of the world and stocks are going to 4,000. Just trade the levels and trade what the price does. If we hit that 54.40, 54.50 area and hold it, I might look at that for a bounce. I might even have a little nibble here at 55, so I don't know. I'll watch the price action.
okay,
But yeah, it's more a risk move, global worries than anything
yeah,
else going on in a particular country.
yeah. I know they decimated. We have a breakdown in crude. Maybe it'll be a false breakdown, but I know a lot of people don't trade it. I don't blame you. But look at what this did in a bad tape yesterday. I tweeted about it. I talked about it.
Yeah.
This looks pretty good. Kind of like, one or A, B, and C. So nat gas. So, because crude is getting smashed, no one wants to touch any energy product. This might be a sleeper. Just thought I'd bring it up. And uh, any feel on yen continues lower here. Bring Kman in.
Hi,
Okay.
Dale. Hello, everybody. No, I've said a while ago, I'm expecting this to with its own volatility to start forming a range, and it seems that's exactly what we're doing. I was a bit out with my 144 as at bottom end of the range. It went down to 143.30, but then it's I think somewhere 143.5, 144 up to 147, 148, and that's where we're in this ranging. Obviously, yen strengthened on the back of Riskov and Ueda sending his text to government, basically saying the same thing that he said before. And yet we are at 145. So there's a couple of interesting levels, both ends of the both ends of that range. For the
Yeah.
short term, it's 144.5, 146.5, and then you widen it a bit to 143.30 or so, and 147.60, 148. And that's about it right now. And yeah, as I said as well, it's when I look at it yesterday, I was out, but I was following things from a distance, and I actually didn't see that big move on the equities before I came back home. It is a bit the same. We had that yesterday was on a Tuesday, but then we had like a couple of weeks starting August. Couple of weeks on a Monday, we had those kind of moves. Every time you go outside of a daily kind of range, average range, the market goes all bananas and takes it one way or another in a violent fashion, and that's exactly what we are doing right now. I really think, as I said it again, I mean, I think September is going to be extremely important, but is it important right now, or is it going to be important in a week, or on the jobs report, obviously, but then in a week and a half time, going and trying to find the direction for the end of the year? That may be it, and really the rest is still like a lot of. I see a lot of people like really. When S&P was at 50, what is it, 56.5, the next stop was 6,000. Now we are going back to 4,000. I mean, no, we are still at 5,500. We're a mere what is it, 3-4% below the all-time highs. I don't know. I really want to refuse to be trading Armageddon before Armageddon strikes, you know. And
Okay,
then,
well, how about just trading what's happening in front of your eyes today?
well, what's happening in front of my eyes is I'm still seeing pretty decent data on sterling, and so I'm keeping my euro sterling short. I see support coming in below 131 in the cable, down to 130.20 or so ish.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing right now. Yeah, euro sterling is really not moving that much anymore.
Yeah.
It's holding 84, but then already capped at 84.35. Gives me the impression, out of experience, that some people may be trading around some options there, because they keep it just in the range. Well, keep it in the range. They got interest on both ends of this 35 pip range, and that's really what I'm seeing right now. And I'm seeing currencies reacting violently to risk, like Swiss and even Norwegian kroner on the dump in oil, but then gradually coming back. So currencies only have like the occasional correlation that they have with other instruments. So that those correlations are still like on and off, really, and very hard to trade for more than one session.
Yeah, and again, I think we have another example. Although the dollar rallied yesterday, that was a pretty extreme risk-off day, right? I mean, regardless of whether we're going to make new highs or
Mm-hmm.
not. And the behavior in FX, I wouldn't call it, you know, big, you know, desire to buy the dollar as a safe haven again
No,
with
no,
risk off.
no. Yeah, when you look at it the day after the event, there's none of the currencies have gone on a new trendy move. None of them.
Well, I do consider this a pretty good trend, and that this is
Well,
what
yes, but
normally.
not a new one. There's
Okay.
no
Oh,
trend developing moves that happened yesterday.
oh, yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, if I cover up the title, I look at a very nice advance. I don't know if it's 5 waves. I believe it is, and now we're, you know, this could be just wave 2, and the
Mhm.
next move in the dollar um, could be bigger than this.
Yeah,
Okay, because it
I think I'm going to. I've also been looking at that level in the euro, whether it's around 110.40, where we are now. That'll depend on US data, of course, but especially the one in those high 109s, just towards 109.70 or so. That's an interesting one. And yeah,
And
cable.
this is going to be, I mean, you know, if this is just a 2 and a shallow, wherever it is, or a B, you normally get fib extensions of this, right? So you get, you know, 1.32, 1 point, whatever, 1.618 if it's a big one. So, you know, if you miss this, what could be coming up once we complete this corrective process is going to be, I think, have at least equality of this move. So,
yeah, I started yesterday to leg into two smalls.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Just
thanks, Kay.
bigger and then leaving room to get down to that 38.2 or so. And I've got pretty decent levels and all the way to well, not all the way, but I mean down to 130.20-ish or so.
I just wanted to ask you this, since you traded. I was telling people up here to be patient and start buying around 28.
Yeah.
Do you like it here?
The thing is, there's a lot of uncertainty about global growth, and especially the real engines like China or Germany, or now there's a bit uncertainty perhaps creeping in the US as well. We will
So
see
you don't
on the jobs report.
Yeah.
But yeah, I said on the flow show, if give me 27, 26 and a half, and I'll probably start to press a few buttons.
Oh, okay. Think it could break to 6.5. Okay. Let's see. Brian, we're still in your gold box, right? It held it yesterday.
Yeah, still in. It had a little mooch under down to the 70s, but yeah, it's holding the 80s and can't get above those 25, 30s. So yeah, it's still large in the box. We got those.
So this held
breaks.
Yeah, this held up the best yesterday, didn't it? I mean, besides a great performance, well, good performance in bonds. And
Yeah.
you know, and the bonds they didn't exactly do this like they did into August. So even the bonds. I did hear one thing though. I think that the inversion on the yield curve, we're back to 0.
Yeah.
So,
well, where's the recession? We need a recession first, don't we? Before that happens.
well, I've seen studies that not always, but the danger for the market happens once the inversion uninverts and starts going the other way.
Reverting, or whatever it's called. Yeah, we'll have to have a chat one day about inversions and how I think they're a complete load of bollocks, personally.
Okay.
And the way people describe them and, you know, look at them for a recessionary signal.
Yeah.
It's already
I
happening.
like when
the curve inverts.
Everyone loves when you're controversial, Ryan. All right.
I love to bust through the myths, Dale.
Yeah. All right, let's bring the boss in. I'm not talking Springsteen.
You know,
it's only
definitely not Springsteen.
You're as good looking as Springsteen.
Oh my God. You know, I haven't been to New York. I haven't been to the city in like, it was the year before COVID hit. So 2019, I think, was the last time I was in New York. And we were walking down the street and the boss got out of you know, a limo or whatever. Yeah. And man, all we could see is like the top of his head, you know, walking. Yeah. And just the crowds of people around him. The guy still draws a crowd. So I wish I was the boss.
You are in the FX world.
Well, you know,
in fact, you know what? You're more than a boss. You're a czar.
Oh, right. That's funny. Well, I'll tell you who's the boss right now. I think the boss right now is the dollar. I think the dollar's, I love your look, by the way, Dale. And here I'm gonna just go ahead and I'll take over the charts from here. Because we got to talk about the Bank of Canada that's upcoming today. Okay. But one of the things that that I don't know if you guys have seen, and you know, it's obviously here too. If you read, you know, the basic technical analysis and just look at the 10-year and just see what the charts have done. You know, we had this false breakdown in notes and well, on the bond market too. And you're seeing the bond markets just rally and yields are coming off. Now, it hasn't had much of an effect on the dollar as of late because the dollar has been strengthening. But Dale, I like your look where, you look at the moves that we've seen, the pullbacks, and here's, how I'm viewing the euro. We're holding basically the 38% retracement, 161% extension. As Ryan and Kman both talked about, it's going to be dollar, data that comes out. I know we have trade balance in a few minutes. It's not the data that I think is going to be moving the market, nor is the jolts. We have ISM services tomorrow, weekly unemployment claims, ADP tomorrow. So we're chock full of data coming up tomorrow, which you guys have to be here because we'll be covering all that live. Then you got the non-farm payroll on Friday. But all of this data has allowed for, and I think you're succinct in saying, if this is a corrective wave 2 from an Elliott wave point of view, and matter of fact, let me see if Grega has that updated for an intraday. This move back here, he's looking at this as being a wave 5. So this would 2 to 3, 4, 5 would take us to new highs. So he thinks this is wave 4, and then 5 should be one last final move above 112. But I look at it kind of the same way as you, and I'm not an Elliottician, but it's like this has been, a corrective wave and an overall, uptrend so far, at least.
Yeah.
And sterling's the same way. You've got a nice flag pattern. I know Kman was just mentioning about how sterling's holding up pretty well. I think it is too. I mean, you look at these levels here. This is the breakout point in the channel. We're just kind of holding above it. We've been limited to a 38% retracement of the last, the last leg higher. That's this one right here. What I'm calculating as a flagpole. And even the Aussie's getting a little bit of support following the GDP data that came out overnight. So we are seeing a little bit of dollar consolidation, Kiwis on channel support. So what the dollar does from here is going to be pretty interesting, I think. I don't know if today is going to be the data or the day that, drives us too far. Like I said, limited moves. But the big mover has obviously been equities. So Dale, I heard what you said at the very beginning. You're not fading this move. So you think this breakdown's for real today or yesterday, excuse me.
I don't, I came in thinking that new highs were a layup, yesterday. And I don't know how, I don't want to fight yesterday's action to get long. No, I don't. I have to be open-minded. I don't like how NVIDIA is trading better holds,
Yeah. Your mic's kind of quiet, by the way, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It's that move in NVIDIA was pretty violent, and you know how it is, Dale. It's the boob top. We've got the boob top in play. So
that was I'm seeing on X, that was NVIDIA's record market cap loss. Oh well,
really?
what we've had is huge.
That makes sense. Yeah,
huge.
That's a
record market cap loss, and everyone's long NVIDIA still long term.
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh hell yeah, of course.
So we take out 90. Look out.
Oh, I agree. You got the 200 DMA coming up. So yeah, a lot to watch here. As far as equities go, I'm with you as far as as long as we sit below this breakdown point right here. But we did, we're stopped at the 50 DMA. We might have a little bit further to go, but while you're below, 55.40, you got to be a little bit more cautious with equities for sure. Hey, so today, let's talk about this really quick because we're running out of time. We have the Bank of Canada today, and here comes the US dollar Canadian back towards 136. Ryan, what do you think here? I mean, do you think the Bank of Canada is expected to cut rates not only today, but I don't know. They've got probably another full basis point of cuts after today going into next year. I mean, could they outdove the Fed? What the market's pricing here in the Fed? I mean, the dollar CAD is very weak.
Yeah, it is. The question, assuming that they do cut as expected today, that'll be the third on the trot, and you've got to wonder if maybe they're getting to the end of this little phase. Can they really cut every meeting from now on, all the way down to whatever their neutral target is, 3.5%, 3%, 2.5%, whatever it is, or do we see a little bit of a pause? I think the effect on the CAD is binary today. If they cut and say that they're not going to stop, then we could see CAD weakening. If they do cut and say, well, we're going to maybe pause for a bit, then we could see some CAD strength. I think you've got to take the moves in something like dollar CAD today, trade the CAD side, but right after the BOC, switch back to the dollar side and see if dollar CAD has pushed out of kilter with thoughts about the Fed and them cutting. So if we're getting excess strength in dollar CAD, whereas we know the Fed's heading to a cut, and is it 25, is it 50? I think that's probably a lot of traders going to be looking to fade any big upside moves in dollar CAD.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we can get to the 136 level, I would think that would be a gift. What do you think, Kman?
Yeah, pretty similar. It depends on whether my Clem signals that they are far away from far away enough of where the Fed is at right now, because that was one of his lines, that they still had room. But honestly, I have very little view on the direction really of the Canadian dollar. Yeah, I think this, if it comes out a bit dovish, I think we can even go and get up to 136.5 if it. But I am more, as I said on the flash show, I'm not sure I want to trade it, but I'd be more inclined to buy a serious dip under 135 than sell a rally in dollar CAD right now.
Huh. Okay. So you'd be more, you don't want to sell up here, because I'm going to have orders out near 136.
There's enough levels there for those who want to trade it. I mean, it's all great, but
you'd rather be buyer down here.
Yeah.
What a classic chart. I mean, look at that. First they cleaned out all the shorts, now they've cleaned out all the longs. It's probably much more in a neutral state now that they've shaken both out. But it still looks negative to me. We could go. Why can't we go 136.5, 37? I'd be a seller up there if that happened. 36 seems too pat to me, Blake. And anytime, and you make me nervous every time you say something is a gift.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
There are no gifts, Dale. There are no gifts.
Yeah,
if you look at these levels, I mean, and you look at gold, we have a similar kind of zone support now around 24, 70, 77 or so, 70, 80. It's a bit similar on gold to the other side.
Yeah.
And let me just say, you guys, this is really interesting. Remember, pushing through here last week, I'm like, you got to look at the COT data, because we're going to get data that was basically a week and a half ago, when everybody got stopped out. Dale, you want to talk about getting more neutral as we talk to the excessive,
right.
net shorts in leveraged funds. I mean, that was historically, I mean, it's still,
yeah, it still has room to revert to the mean.
Oh yeah.
They didn't clean everyone out yet.
Yeah, not everybody's been cleared out. A lot has been, and I think it's probably continued. I think a lot of people are probably, squaring away some positions here. But we are definitely more neutral now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we do have trade balance coming out. So let me just jump over to ForexAnalytix, grab the
trade balance. I've fallen and I can't get up.
All right, let's see what that data looks like. Coming out here in just a few minutes. I'm just going to put on live.
It's not a mover lately. It will be more important once you guys have a new president.
Yeah, I agree with that. Agree with that.
Yeah, well, if we get one.
Well, we're getting something new. That's for sure.
Not November 5th, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Canadian trade balance a little bit better than expected. U.S. trade balance a little wider than expected, but not a big market mover. But what'll be a market mover will be the JOLTS data. You can see that data flash came out before Live Squawk could even post it. So we're gonna have JOLTS data today. Are you expecting anything from that, Kman, Ryan?
Nope. No, the market will move on it. No, the market will move on it, but it's old data. It's a month behind everything else, and yeah, I
Don't we get jolts every day when we trade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
jolted
wondering.
or jilted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we do, don't we? Hey, I know we've got to wrap up here. You got Tony Nash. I was just on his week ahead video last week, I believe. So he'll be a nice guest. He gets to talk to a lot of people in the markets. So
Yeah.
kind of like you, Dale. So have a great interview with Tony. For those of you that don't know, just remember we have our 8-year anniversary special. This is our pricing special, and this is the cheapest prices we ever have had for our semi-annual and annual prices. Remember, we don't do sales often, usually only a couple of times a year. So this is your opportunity. If you want to be part of the ForexAnalytix community, be in the chat rooms, be able to talk to myself and Ryan and Kman and all the other traders all day long. It's probably the most active trading community out there of, serious traders, then come join us in the ForexAnalytix community, get all these tools as well. And don't forget to do that because
Just do it. Like,
do
I
it.
have a closing comment about risk.
Yeah.
And we have an election coming up. We all think that we're going to pick the president, but what the market is doing into November is going to pick the president. Okay, if we did top and we're heading down, that's going to, that's going to favor Trump. If things hold together and there's no problem and people's 401ks are at all-time highs, they may go with Harris because she's kind of the status quo. But if we have a bear move going into November, that would really work in Donald Trump's favor, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with you, and I have to say, then you must be a believer that in 2 weeks from today, the Fed is going to deliver 50 basis points because Jay Powell doesn't want to have to deal with Donald Trump again. So,
Yeah,
for
it could
all the
be.
non-believers and people that don't think that the Fed is impartial and political.
That's a good point too. We'll know, won't we?
We will, yeah, and
but the employment report might decide that too.
yeah,
If we come in strong. I mean, I'm more in the quarter camp.
yeah. I mean,
And
I'm too. I am too.
All right. Anyway, I don't think the market will like that either. So team, thanks. Kay, Ryan, Blake, good job,
Pleasure,
Dream
mate.
Team.
Bless you, mate.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. So see you guys tomorrow. Good hunting. And Tony Nash,
Dale, good morning.
welcome. How are you, Tony? It's good to talk to you.
Okay. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I want to
Interesting.
acknowledge that last time you were on, you were constructive, the euro. You're probably surprised I remember that, but
I am.
for some strange reason, I remember what people say when I interview them, and that was a good call. Excellent call. So
Great.
what's up? For those of you who don't know, that Tony does have his own deal with Complete Intelligence, and except for the one time he had me on. It wasn't then it wasn't Complete Intelligence.
Very
It was
intelligent, Dale.
extraterrestrial
Yeah.
intelligence. Go
So
ahead,
just to
buddy.
give everybody a quick overview. So CI is in Complete Intelligence is an AI-driven platform. So we do a little, we don't do intraday forecasts. We'll do things like monthly interval forecasts for pretty much everything there is out there in markets. Not small stocks, but we do, currencies, commodities, individual stocks, equities. We do international stocks, all sorts of things. Um, so that's what we do. There's a new forecast up every Monday because again, we're not doing intraday or daily intervals. So we have a new forecast up every Monday. So
Okay.
it's interesting you talk about the euro. I was just looking at our euro forecast and we are not as constructive as we were before. We do see a bit of short-term weakness in the euro, let's say over the next 2 months, and then we see a bit of strength returning toward the end of the year.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
so that's that's kind of not. I think there's a view that the euro is maybe seeing some very very temporary weakness, but we don't necessarily see it that way. And partly is what you were saying about the Fed. There had been an expectation for a while that we are going to see 50, but I think we're going to see a 25, but I think we're going to see an unhappy 25,
Okay.
meaning
Yeah, that's what I think. You mean by with risk. Risk won't be happy about it.
right, exactly. And
Okay.
I think it's starting to dawn on people. We had all this excitement. Fed rate cuts are coming, and people are starting to realize, wait, Fed rate cuts are coming, right? And that's not necessarily a positive thing. The Fed cuts when they see risk around the corner. They're trying to offset that risk that they see around the corner. So we may see jobs data, but who believes jobs data, right?
Yeah,
Um,
with that bid, well, you mean because of like that 800,000 revision?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
2 years ago, the revision was 300,000. Last year, it was 500,000. This year, it's 800,000. So are they going to revise? If you look at that progression, are
That's
they
a
going to
great
revise
point, Tony. I mean, what
1.2 million next year? I mean, who trusts that data,
well,
right? Is
people
it,
trade off it. I guarantee you, even though people don't trust it, that Friday there'll be huge market reactions.
oh, of course. No,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, because people are, they're trading the top line number, but they're also trying to outguess the algos, right? And so they
Yeah.
have to trade the number. You can't say I'm going to wait for the revision and then trade the revision. Nobody cares. So,
It's only one trade a year, too. You'd go bananas.
right, exactly. And so, you have to trade the news. And but really in the back of I think a lot of people's minds is this is really more PR than it is an official print. And so we're going to trade the PR because BLS could be revising down 1.2 million jobs this time next year, right? Instead of just 800. So we have no idea, and so we're seeing a little bit of weakness coming up in the euro, not a lot, 109 ish,
Okay.
and so we think it'll stay in that range for a couple months or whatever. But and then you were talking about the Canadian. Sorry, I heard you talking about the Aussie dollar. Um, and we see strength in the Aussie dollar going into October, and then we see it turn around a little bit going into November and the end of the year. So um, it's interesting watching the Aussie dollar. I think it's where a lot of people want to be, and at least almost as a risk off move.
Well,
And
that's okay. That's a switch because Aussie was always more vulnerable during
Yep.
periods of risk off. So you're saying that people want to own Aussie for risk off?
Well, I think there's uncertainty in Asian currencies, and a lot of
Okay.
that move in Aussie is people kind of moving out of Asian currencies because that's where they are. They're
Interesting.
in Malaysia, they're in India, they're in, wherever.
Yeah.
And so, they're looking for some place that they can put their money for a short period of time. So we're
Because
seeing a
this
little
is
bit of,
a pretty bullish formation in my view,
yeah,
Tony. I'm looking
exactly.
to buy it around 6.5 if we get it, but you look at the weekly and we start taking out this horizontal line, the measured move is pretty big.
Yep.
It's like 74.
Yeah, and so that's what we're seeing there. And then just a bit, but again, we're not expecting a major move in Aussie dollar. But if we look around to like the S&P and the Nasdaq, we do see continued weakness through at least October in stocks.
Wow. Well,
Uh,
then we're gonna
so
have then we're gonna take out, if it's gonna last that long, and that's really not that long. I mean,
mm-mm.
you're only talking about 3, 4 weeks into October. So,
No, we're looking at like 53.50 or 53.80, somewhere in there.
okay.
It's not, we're not talking about going down to 3,500 or anything. It's just a short term. And our expectation is, and has been for months, the data continues to come in consistently. Post-election, things look pretty bullish post-election. And I think some people are just waiting for clarity. What position is the Fed going to take? What's going to happen in the new administration, whether it's a Harris or a Trump administration, we don't know. But I think on some level, people are just looking for clarity. You had mentioned NVIDIA in the previous segment. We see NVIDIA going down to about 105-ish. Now you were saying 90 would be a pretty bad read for NVIDIA, and we're seeing about 105-ish. So we don't see the complete rug pull on NVIDIA happening, at least with the way things are right
Got to
now.
buy it today then.
Well, it depends on your horizon, right? So, but we're seeing kind of, again, end of the year, things really start to come back for NVIDIA, and things could be, potentially really positive after that.
Oh, you don't see the August low being taken out. So okay, so with your ideas, you also have to know where you're wrong and what you're going to risk, right? So if you're buying it
Absolutely.
around, you like 105, is your risk the August lows on a position
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that?
it could hit lower than that, but we're looking at kind of a range of 105-ish. And of course, we could hit lower. We could go to, just below 100 for a very short term, like
Yeah.
a day or so. But we don't necessarily see it staying below that for long,
Okay.
because there's this new monopoly case or whatever that's taken out by the feds against NVIDIA. I'm not really sure how, what that has in terms of efficacy, because it is such a new space. It's really hard to say that they're a monopolist in what they're doing. There are all sorts of chip makers. So kind of how, I don't understand what their case is against NVIDIA.
Okay. Anything in the metals, Tony? Silver had a nice little pullback. Looks like
Yeah,
gold
let's
might
let's go to oil first, okay? Because
Okay,
I had
sure.
heard you guys talking about oil, so I pulled up an oil chart. We do see WTI continue to fall until December.
Wow.
So we see WTI around the 70 range in December. So I know some people who are a little bit more bearish on WTI than we are, but uh, we see things going down to 70. And maybe that's just election kind of positioning, and people trying to push down prices. We see silver coming back to 27-ish, something like that. We don't see, where is it today? Sorry, I haven't checked yet, but
It's turning up. It's up 14 cents right now.
okay, yeah. So we see silver, let's say in October, going down just below 27. So we see it around, averaging around 28 this month, and kind of high 26s or around 27 in October. But then we see things coming back, and again, most of our approaches see strength in metals toward the end of the year. And so, that's kind of where things are going. So weakness in crude, strength in metals, um, dollar generally, I guess, against the euro, we see a little weakness, or a little, sorry, a little strength coming in for the next couple of months, but then toward the end of the year, we do see things coming back in the dollar as well.
Okay, you have a view on yields, Tony? There's a
Uh,
10-year.
I do, yeah. I mean, look, yields are something that we see them weak until the end of the year, and then we see a little bit of strength coming back, but not a huge amount. Um, Now, if Harris is elected, um, what am I? There is a possibility that Gary Gensler comes in Treasury, and Yellen has really messed up the Treasury market. And so there is an expectation that Gensler will come in and really sort out that Treasury market and kind of fix a lot of the kind of short-term issues that she's put in.
What is it? The lack of liquidity, like the bid
Yeah,
offer on, yeah, the bid that's been going on for a long time. It used to be the tightest spread in the world,
yeah,
bid offer. Now you have to pay a few ticks to
yeah.
get the deal done.
Right, exactly. And so, she's been extremely short term. And it looks like, the expectation would be that he would come in and fix things and really address kind of the longer end as well. So, um, so now
Will he embrace crypto this time?
you know what? I don't get the sense that he will aggressively embrace it, but I think it's something that at some point you have to kind of allow, if that makes sense. So, it's possible that he pushes against it, but I don't necessarily see that. It's kind of just become one of those things that it's almost like legalization of marijuana, right? There was pushback in certain places for a while, and then now it's become kind of status quo inevitable. And so I think crypto, from the kind of Gary Genslers of the world, there has been initial pushback, but I think over time it just becomes this fait accompli where, he has to accept it. So,
Okay.
and Trump has said if he's elected, it's okay. He's going to push crypto and, all this stuff. So I'm just not quite sure who Trump's Treasury Secretary would be. So that's kind of up in the air. There's a little bit of uncertainty around that.
Well, has your view changed? Because I have friends and followers and people, and I believe one of my friends, he's a friend, not just a follower, and he watches your show, and I think it was during the transition of the ticket, and after the convention, you guys made a call that Harris has it locked up. Do you still believe that?
Oh, that was Albert Marco.
Oh yeah, Albert, right? Yeah.
He's pretty convinced that Harris has it locked up, and he's very convinced that Trump won't be able to get Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Arizona. That's not my view.
Okay.
Albert's view is really that if the Republicans focus on Wisconsin, that's really the battleground for this election. I don't necessarily see it that way. I actually think that Trump has a possibility of getting Pennsylvania. He definitely has Ohio, Georgia. He has it's a reasonable possibility of getting North Carolina, reasonable possibility of getting even Arizona. I think he has a reasonable possibility of getting. So I think I think it's a close call. I think it's really hard for anybody to say they know what's happening in this election.
Okay, well then how is there going to be how do you think we're going to find out? And how long will it take before will they
February? I'm kidding.
No, go ahead. I mean it won't come until after the inauguration.
Yeah,
Huh?
exactly. I think you're going to have places that kind of for the drama of it draw things out. And so Dale, I know you're pretty young, so you may not know this. There's a book put out in the early 90s called Means of Ascent. It's the history of LBJ's 1948 senatorial election, which is random piece, right? But he won that election by stringing out the count and getting 200 more votes in the border counties of Texas. And they reported 6 days after the election was over.
Yeah.
And so, will we see that in the 2024 election? I think it's a possibility, but I also feel like the American people, are very tired of this stuff. People are very tired of dramatic elections. They're very tired of just the questions around election counting and tallying and this stuff. And so, I think we'll see an amazing amount of pushback if that's the case. And I think there will be a lot more legal action taken and more aggressive legal action taken if we have places that aren't finalizing their count for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I just think that people have had enough of it and they're just tired of it. It doesn't matter the side. I think they're just tired of
Oh
um,
yeah, I think the country is angry and exhausted at the same time.
exactly. Yeah, people are just exhausted by this. That's a great word.
Yeah.
And so I think Americans are going to push really hard to know on election night. And if it takes 2 or 3 days, uh, we're gonna have some really angry people, and I don't think it matters which side. I think both sides they're just fed up with it.
Okay. You do anything in nat gas? I mean, I know I look at a screen, and when you have a red day like you had yesterday, and you find a market that is not affected by it, and that's what nat gas did. I know it's a very difficult trade, but
Yeah,
had a pretty good day and held prior lows, and that's with crude getting, like you said, everyone's bearish crude. So
yeah,
maybe they're going
Dale.
to, this a sleeper, maybe.
I'm really confident in a lot of our forecasts, but I'll be very honest, nat gas is not one of them. Okay.
Okay.
And I
Right.
tell people this, as I talk through our forecasts with people, we do see nat gas strength over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
And then we see, beyond that, it's really hard to tell. And the error rates after a couple of months really kind of flare out, and they can be tight or they could be really high. And as you know, that's a tough
Yeah.
market to forecast. So we do see things rising a bit over the next say month and 2 months. Beyond that, it's just not something that I would be confident calling, because we do see, once we hit 3 months, our error rates rise pretty dramatically.
Okay. Well, I think you gave us a lot of clarity today.
Thank you,
So,
Dan.
I,
That makes
I
me
just,
happy.
yeah, excellent interview. I just want to show people your website.
Thank you. We're at completeintel.com,
There it
and
is.
just come in for $25 a month. You get forecast for 1,800 items renewed every Monday morning.
And you could follow Tony on X
Yep,
at
at
Tony Nash
Tony
Nerd.
Nash Nerd. Yeah, I'm
Should
nerd,
be
and
an easy
I'm a
one to
nerd and I'm proud of
remember.
it.
But it's one of the best nerd forecasts across the board that I've heard in a long time from a nerd. So,
Thank you, Dale.
anyway, you're just being humble. You're not a nerd.
Thank you, Dale. I appreciate that.
You're a Top Gun. All right.
Thank you.
So, Tony Nash, everybody, check him out. Complete Intelligence. Albert is a thinker as well. So check these guys out, and could
Thanks,
be
Dale.
part of
Have a great
could be
day.
part could be part of your intelligence gathering. You too, Tony, my trading warrior brother. Go get him.
Thank you, and you.
All right. So everyone, you could join the team in 20 on the morning edge. And remember, Don't just count your pips, count your blessings, and good hunting today. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Oops. Thanks, Hugo. You're very welcome.